Hi, it's Jenny. I hope that I'm not too dark. It's a bit hard with the natural light thingy, but we'll see. It's review time. The book I'm going to review is Politika by Clancy and Martin Greenberg. So here we go. I thought I'd start off by telling you the title of the book that I'm going to review. It's Politika. It's by Clancy and Martin Greenberg. It looks like this. It's the creme mixed in the background, sort of out faded, also here in the back, with, whoa, I think it's New York, with the Twin Towers on it. The book is a translation into Swedish from English. The original title is Politika, as far as I know. This apparently is a series. It's the first book in the series. The series is called Tom Clancy's Power Plays, and they focus on a main character named, darn it, I think his first name, yeah, he's called Roger Gordian. That's the main character that will, as far as I've read about the other books in the series, I think it's a series of 8 books in total. Roger Gordian is a reoccurring character in this series that's called Tom Clancy's Power Plays. In this book, first and foremost, I have to say there is a trigger warning for this book, because this book is published here in Sweden. In this translation, it's published in 1999. The original is... The book is copyrighted in 1997, so it's written futuristically, because this book takes place between... it's a couple of months that occurs in this book. It starts off on the 24th of September of 1999 and ends on the 17th of February in 2000. So it takes place between September and February of 99 and 2000, and there is the trigger warning that I am supposed to tell you about here is that this book was written before 9/11, but the terror act that occurs in this book has sort of similarities, in my personal opinion, to that terror, to 9/11. It was extremely big, and some of the things that happen sort of reminds one of 9/11, but it's not the same, if you understand what I mean. So if you have trouble with 9/11, or sort of if you have trouble reading about terror acts like 9/11, then this book is unfortunately not for you. This book starts off with the authors killing off Boris Yeltsin. He apparently dies from a heart attack on the 24th or something like that, around the 24th of September in 1999. Because I read this, had to check it, but Boris Yeltsin didn't die until 2007, or yeah. So this is pure fiction, you can say. But as I said, this is copyrighted in 1997, so yeah. But the authors had to kill off that Yeltsin because of they needed to have sort of a coalition government in Russia for this plot. This book is centered around the Russian Federation having trouble with providing food for their citizens, so they ask the US for help, and they help. But there are three leaders in Russia, or the Russian Federation in this book. One you barely get to know, he's almost invisible. One is apparently very prominent because of his personality and his hate for the US and the aid that they give. The third one is also very prominent because of the fact that he is the one that arranges this food aid from the US. In the US there is a president called Ballard, I think, so yeah, it's also fictional, because I can't remember the United States having a president called that. But yeah, so yeah, there is this food problem, or rather lack of food problem, lack of food that is the problem in the Russian Federation, and the hate for, or rather there is a terror act, and there is that sort of traces back to Russian Parliament. That is what the backside, but the blurb on the backside says, so I'm not spoiling it. And I was a bit annoyed by knowing this because it took about 70 pages or something for this terror act to happen, so, and the book is about, in this edition at least, it's 260 something pages, so that was a bit sad, I think, because it would have been even better if you didn't know that there would be a terror act, but yeah. So, yeah. Then you got these parts, and then there's Roger Gordian. He's a humanitarian who has built a company from the ground up, and it's called Uplink. They sort of build ground stations for satellite communications and let's see, can I remember this correctly, or rather get it out in English correctly. They help crack codes and make communications between people easier, and yeah, it's a very advanced company for this time. They have stations around the world, and in this book there is a focus on the station that is being built in Russia, near Kaliningrad, I think it was, and yeah, that's how Roger Gordian is involved. He is also a person who gets affected very much emotionally by the terror act in the US, so he and his company sort of investigate this act to try and find the people responsible and make them pay. But they do not cooperate with the FBI and CIA and all police and so on and so forth. So they do this for themselves, rather. But at some point Gordian goes to the police and gives them the facts and findings that they have found. I thought this book was rather annoyingly translated at some points. The language wasn't pristine or perfect as it should be. It was some places here and there that could have been better proofread, but that won't affect your reading of this, because I think you'll read it in English if you can find it. It was a interesting book. The terror act affected me rather much, and the descriptions of what happened to the people and how they got hurt and so on and so forth almost made me feel a bit sick at some point. But when it wasn't a big part that was describing this, so it was okay. But the story in itself was rather interesting. It's politics, it's terror mixed together and causing one another to do stuff, and it's plot after plot after plot of, or rather plotting of things, and rather big actors in the plot making that planned the terror act and other incidents. So it's an interesting read, and yeah, I haven't read anything else by Tom Clancy or Martin Greenberg or something like that, but this made me think a bit about The Cold 6000 by James Ellroy that I read last fall. It's political, it's a lot of people involved, and there are conspiracies, and yeah, it's reminded me a lot of that, and I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. I recommend it if you don't have trouble with the 9/11 comparisons that you might make of the terror act and 9/11, so to speak. So yeah, pick it up. Unfortunately, as I said, this is the first part or installment in the series Tom Clancy's Power Plays. The sad part for me is that apparently this was the only one book in this series translated into Swedish, so I have to get hold of the other books in the series in English, and I've located a couple of them but not all of them, so there will be some investigation on my part in the near future, because it was a really good and interesting series, and I'd like to continue reading it. Maybe not in the upcoming months, but in later on this year or in the year to come. So yeah, I really recommend it. If you like terror mixed up with politics, conspiracies and stuff like that, pick it up. Politika by Tom Clancy and Martin Greenberg. I will stop rambling now. Hope you got something out of this. Maybe you want to pick it up, maybe you don't. Hope you have a great day. Happy reading, people. See you in my next video. Bye!